I did make this mistake, was the finishing nails you get, you may think they're short enough, but on my first sign, I was hammering away and then I flipped it over and I had all these little pokey parts sticking out from the nails. So just make sure you get the right thickness that you're not gonna poke through. Okay, and then for the rest of it, these are actually wooden letters. Let me see if I can turn this out so you can kind of see they're raised off the board. Before I ordered this set, I did go and price wooden letters, Joann's, Michael's, and Hobby Lobby. I couldn't quite get the look that I wanted. I couldn't find little trees. And by the time it was all said and done, like, it was up almost $40 to try to get what I wanted as far as the wooden letters. So I found this set on Etsy. I want to, it was like $16.99, I think. And then with shipping, it made it $23. And the letters came unfinished. And basically, actually, let me show you something real quick. Hold on one second. Let me grab something. Okay, because she also sent me, they came like this. Because she sent me the pumpkin patch one too. So this, you can kind of see, this is what the letters look like when you get them. She saran wraps them onto a little board like this. So then you get an extra board that you could do a project with. But anyway, so I got the letters. I chose to paint. So I did, for Farm Fresh, I did 2 coats of just the plain black acrylic deco art paint. For the word Christmas trees, I did 2 coats of, let's see, alizarin crimson. Again, the acrylic. And then for the Christmas tree, I did 1 coat of this olive green. And those are the colors I used. And then all I did to attach for the wooden letters was I used wood glue. Now, the one thing about wood glue you need to remember is that when it dries like a natural wood color. So if you get sloppy and have like glue on the sides and stuff, you will see like light tan specks, which you could paint over if you wanted to. But to prevent that, I just poured some wood glue in a dish and used a paintbrush and I just painted them on. I would recommend using wood glue. I would not use hot glue or E6000 for the wood on wood. You'll just get a better bondage, I guess. So does that make sense? Yeah, a bonding to it if you just use wood glue. And so I just painted them on. Once you stick it on there, I mean, it's pretty, like, it starts to go. You can't like put some and then go back and move. So you kind of really need to know where all the letters are going to go. And I just worked in sections. And then after I did a section, I set a couple of hardback books on top for about an hour just to kind of smush it on there. And I did the same thing all the way down. I did use a tape measure. I did use a level to try to get my stuff somewhat straight. This little star, you saw I put one on my other Farm Fresh Christmas tree sign. That's from Hobby Lobby. I just broke it in half. Now for the star, because it's metal onto wood, I did use E6000 glue for that. But anyway, total cost for this sign cost me $28. So there you go. This is the sign, and it's going to be on my mantle. Some of you, I think I put up a picture on Instagram showing kind of my chaos downstairs because I am currently decorating for Christmas. So there we go. All right, guys. Well, if you have any questions about this sign or any comments, feel free to leave them down below. So for now, let's just get straight into the tutorial as well as the supplies. So yeah, all right, let's go. All right, let's go through the supplies. So the first thing, the Farmhouse beads. I bought these on Amazon. It is cheaper to buy them through Amazon, but you can buy them from Hobby Lobby. These are the 20 milliliter beads, and then these are the 12. So I'm gonna use those 2 sides. I've got some twine to string them onto as well as make the tassels. And then as far as paint colors, I'm thinking this alizarin crimson, which I'm really loving, and this olive green. Then I've got, of course, paintbrush, some tape to get the ends so that I can stream them through. And then I've got a bucket here. If you wanted to spray paint them, you certainly could just throw them in this and then spray paint them and be done. But I couldn't quite find the colors I wanted in spray paint, so I chose not to do that. But it just makes it less messy. You can just literally paint them and, you know, it can roll around in there, no big deal. All right, so that's for the beads. Then for the books, I picked up 3 books from Dollar Tree. Now, I did pay attention, and I think I've said that before about picking out books, to the actual color of the book. I was excited to find this green colored one. So this is only going to need some sanding and distressing it up. This is the one I'm going to stamp. Again, I paid attention to the color. So again, just sanding, no paint needed. And then I will stamp it. I haven't quite decided what Christmas book type thing I'm going to stamp there, but something. And then this one, it didn't really matter what the cover looked like because I'm going to wrap it with fabric. So this is the fabric I have pulled for now, but I'm not quite sure yet if that's the one that's going to end up doing. But basically some fabric, or you could use burlap if you wanted to. Also, I'm going to, on the edges, I'm going to paint on some coffee to kind of distress the edges. You could use tea as well. So there's that. And then I've got some lace pulled for tying it up. I may use twine, so you'll see all that in the tutorial. Then I just have some of this ribbon here just in case I want to wrap it around the 2 candle holders that are on there. For the little tiny wreath, a lot of you guys were asking me about this. This is just one of those little strands of garland from Target Dollar Spot. So I just cut a little piece of that. And then the berries, you guys were asking about the berries. This is a pick from Dollar Tree that's been picked over. But these were the berries I used because they're tiny and I just kind of pull them off. So that'll be for the wreath. And then for the little floral arrangement, I picked up a new little container as well as the greenery with berries. And then I may throw in some candy canes, but of course you can tell like this is the muted red and the paint over there is muted red. So this may be a little too bright. I don't know. So that may change a little bit. If you did not see my tutorial on how I make these little candy canes, I will link that down below as well. All right. And then of course a hot glue gun, and there may be some little miscellaneous things you see, but I'll mention those in the tutorial. Okay, I'm going to get the camera set up and let's get into these 4 projects. Alright, I'm going to start by working on the Farmhouse beads project. I'm just putting some gloves on because this will get pretty messy. So for these large beads, I'm going to end up using a total of 41 beads, but right now I'm just going to do the red ones. So I'm pulling out 20 beads to paint them red. And then once I've got them in there, I'm not going to sand them or anything. I'm just going to use the Alizarin Crimson paint, and I'm just going to start painting them with the paintbrush. And as you paint these, just kind of roll them around in the bucket every now and then just to keep them from sticking. But it doesn't really matter if you're trying to get a distressed farmhouse look, it really won't affect it. So just kind of roll the bucket around as you're painting. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and continue painting these red ones, and I'm only going to end up putting 1 coat of red paint on these beads. As I finish up these, I'm just kind of spot checking the beads and looking at them, and if there's any spots that I feel need a little more paint, I'm going ahead and just touching them up just a little bit. And then as soon as I'm done with this, now I'm going to go ahead and count out my beads for the green ones, which will be 21 large beads. For the small beads, I'm going to use 40 of those, and I've decided to leave those just the natural color. And now I'm going to start working on the green beads. I did figure out a way that was most efficient as far as painting these green beads, and that is to basically paint where the 2 holes are and then hold it with your finger like this and then just go around it. And that way the paint doesn't really rub off very much, and then just drop it in your bucket. Let's save a little time here. So basically I'm just going to keep working on these green beads, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Okay, the green beads are all painted, so now I'm going to take my twine, make a fresh cut, and then I'm basically going to take some tape and put half of it on the twine like this so that I also have half of it not touching the twine, and I'm just going to wrap it as tight as I can around it, basically kind of making like a little needle point, if you want to call it that. And then once I get this done, it makes it so much easier to string the beads. And now I'm just going to start stringing my beads. So I will do a large bead and then a natural bead and then large, natural, just alternating the red and greens with the natural colored small beads. The beads are all strung up, and so now I'm going to make the little twine tassel. So I'm just going to take some twine and wrap it around this little box. You could wrap the twine around your hand if you wanted to, but basically I'm going to go around 18 times, and then after I have wrapped it, I will pull it off and then tie off the top with another piece of twine. So just fold it in half and then just take that little piece of twine and tie it around the top and double knot it. So this is the end of my bead strand that I am now threading through the tassel. So basically to finish off the bead strand, I just tied several knots, and then I took the end of the twine, as you can see here, and I basically thread it through the top of my tassel, and now I'm just tying some knots again at the top to attach it to my bead garland. And once your tassel is attached, you're just going to cut the little loops and then go ahead and trim it to the length that you want. Okay, let's move on to my little floral arrangement. So basically I ended up using 4 of these green and berry picks, and then I put in 2 of my wrapped candy canes, as well as this wired rope that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. Basically I just cut it and swirled it around my finger, and then I kind of put a little bit of hot glue at the ends so it wouldn't fray. And then after I got these in there, I just again used one of the little rusty stars from Hobby Lobby, and I just kind of bent it over and attached it to my metal container. Okay, third little project. This is probably the easiest one. I just cut a small little snip of this garland that I purchased from the Target dollar spot. I'm going to use some hot glue just to secure it into a circle. Then I will just pick off some of the little berries from that Dollar Tree pick and then glue those on with hot glue. And then the way I attach this to my little white house is I just use the removable glue dots from Dollar Tree, and I stick one of those kind of to one of the leaves. If you stick it to the wire, it's not going to stay on the house. It'll fall off. Trust me, I tried that. So just stick the glue dot on the back to a leaf and then it'll stay on your house. And now our last project. So I'm going to start by sanding and distressing up my books. I'm just using 60 grit sandpaper with a sanding block and really just go to town sanding this. You cannot, the harder you press, the more directions you go, the better the book will end up looking. So I'm just going to sand this green one and then sand my cream colored one. You can also use a sander if you want to make it easier on yourself. All right, my books are now sanded, and now I'm going to go ahead and quickly do the fabric wrapped book. So there's a million different ways that you could fabric wrap a book, and I just decided that I am just going to try to take the simplest route. Now, you can use the jacket of the book for a template to cut your fabric, but I'm just kind of winging it here. So basically, when you're measuring, just remember that you need to lay it like this on its spine, measure how much fabric you want on one side, and then plop it down like this and measure the other one. That way you don't end up coming up short. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim this, and then what I decided to do was I'm just literally going to fold in the top part and just secure it with some hot glue and kind of make like a little hem. And I'm just going to do that to the top, do that to the bottom, and then we'll work on the sides. Okay, the top and the bottom are done. So now I'm just going to wrap this around, open up my book, and then just glue these sides into the inside of the book, and then it'll be finished. Now, I had mentioned during the supply part of this video that you could use burlap. Just remember that if you use burlap, the cover of the book will show through, so do keep that in mind. But you certainly could use wrapping paper. You could use some of the brown packing paper that Dollar Tree sells. You could use some of their contact paper. So there's a lot of options if you don't want to use fabric to wrap your book. Ta-da! The book is now wrapped. And so now we're about to move on to the stamping. Okay, so I decided not to stamp my letters on, and I'm going to use these stencils that I purchased from Dollar Tree. They're sticky, which I really, really like. So basically, I'm just going to stick these on here and then stamp them with the black paint and my little sponge stamper. And here is my final tray transformed to a more Christmassy theme. I absolutely love how it turned out and everything about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please follow me on Instagram for behind the scenes, or check out my Facebook group. I did post a poll on there about a craft with me, so I would love to have you guys join me on Facebook as well. All the links will be in the description box. See you next time.